So today we're ranking the top 25 OGs in the NBA. But here's the thing. It's such a young league, so every player on this list has to be over just 25 years old. Let me know your thoughts down below and subscribe to never miss an episode. Let's get it. Welcome back to another edition of the Hampton Show. Joel, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling great.
Today we are ranking the top 25 old heads in the NBA, but first, let's start with another massive update in the Kawhi Leonard storyline. I'm not going to lie, Joel, I've been absolutely obsessed with this story from start to finish. Last weekend, I was traveling, and for every single flight, I downloaded podcasts about this exact topic. Pablo Torre had Mark Cuban on, listened to that. Ramona Shelburne interviewed Steve Ballmer, listened to that. Brian Windhorst and Hoop Collective covered it, definitely listened there. And Adam Silver actually spoke on it this week, and I, of course, listened to that as well. What shocked me, but then did not shock me, was how many people defended Ballmer. Because the deeper I listened, the clearer it got. All of these people are entrenched with their sources within the Clippers or have some sort of ties within that, so they don't want to be the first ones to throw stones at him, and I get it. On ESPN, everyone but Tim McMahon was on Team Ballmer. Mark Cuban, who literally lost DeAndre Jordan because of cap circumvention with the Clippers, defended Ballmer. Adam Silver banned owners from even discussing this at league meetings this week. Then he downplayed it at his press conference, and he said whenever it comes to potential punishment, the burden of proof is on the league. It's not on Kawhi or the Clippers. And the talking point everyone leaned on was there's no smoking gun. There's no hard evidence. But to me, at that time, the evidence couldn't be more obvious. We talked about it last week. Steve Ballmer invests $50 million into the company. That company pays Kawhi Leonard $48 million in total, 28 of it through a phony contract, the other 20 through stock. Then this morning, Pablo drops the hammer. He reveals that Ballmer owns 99% of the Clippers, and his college roommate and best friend over the last 5 decades, Dennis Wong, owns the other 1% of the Clippers. The only person in the world he was willing to give up 1% of his team to was his best friend, and his name's Dennis Wong. When Aspiration, the company who was paying Kawhi, started falling apart, they could not keep up with their quarterly payments to Kawhi Leonard. So it was that $28 million contract. We all know about it, but it was quarterly payments of $1.75 million. Bank records from December of 2022, which would be the second payment, show that Aspiration owed Kawhi Leonard $1.7 million in quarterly payments. Days later, minority owner of the Clippers and best friend of Steve Ballmer, Dennis Wong, invested $2 million into the company. Bank statements show this. 9 days after that, the amount that's almost the exact same as $2 million, $1.75 million, was wired directly into Kawhi's account. That's the smoking gun. The company was failing. They couldn't pay Kawhi despite Ballmer's huge investment. So the Clippers' minority owner, Ballmer's closest friend, swoops in with cash just to make sure Kawhi gets his money. At this point, Pablo Torre has basically done the investigation for the NBA. Joel, what is your reaction to this, and what do you think potential punishment should be?
I think this hurts the integrity of the league. Steve Ballmer is one of the most wealthy owners in the NBA, so it makes sense why everybody's jumping to defend him. Mark Cuban has been longtime friends with Steve Ballmer. Adam Silver, controlling the NBA, understands the type of revenue and the type of income and wealth that Steve Ballmer owning a team draws to the league. So I think that's why they're not trying to lay down the hammer on him. But in saying that, I think the evidence is jarring against him. I think that Steve Ballmer tried to play it off in an interview with Ramona Shelburne, and it puts journalists that work for these major networks in a compromised position because it seems like they are asking softball questions. And for Steve Ballmer to say that he got conned, I don't believe that. I don't believe somebody that has billions of dollars got conned when all of the traces in the story show that he had a major part in it. And for him to act like he's just oblivious to it and he was fooled and he just got scammed, he was an idiot. He had no idea about it. Mm-hmm. I'm just not buying that story with how smart we know he is as a person. And I think Adam Silver made himself look bad multiple times when talking about the state of the league. Number one was the Kawhi Leonard story and not giving any definitive statements and being vague about it. I don't think they're going to do a real investigation on it because what they're going to find is they're going to find that the cap was circumvented. So I think Adam Silver is hurting the integrity of the league by not laying the hammer down on this. Yet any NBA player that places a sports bet, they get suspended a year. I think that is unfair when you're not willing to try to chase down one of your owners that might be not playing by the rules. And then number two was the way that he talked about fans that don't have access to watch the games. And he called the NBA highlight league. He basically said that if you don't have the money to pay for these games and watch them, you can watch the highlights. You can go on Twitter. You can go on Instagram. You don't have to digest the full games,
Yeah.
And I felt like
Like they don't need ratings.
yes, like he let the league down in that standpoint by not trying to make games more accessible for people that want to watch basketball. There's teenagers and kids out there that they don't have the money to buy NBA League Pass. They don't have the money to do these things. And for you to not create an avenue so a younger fan can be invested into basketball even more, I think is problematic, especially when we see an NFL preseason game draw more viewership than the NBA Finals. Even with the NBA being a highlight league and as many people talking about it as they do and the viewership being up, the numbers when people are supposed to tune in to watch the games, the biggest event in the NBA doesn't even come close to the lowest level event in the NFL. And I think that is a jarring distinction. So I think Adam Silver has let the NBA down multiple times over the last weekend. And I don't expect the punishment to be harsh at all because I think that they need Steve Ballmer's wealth inside the league. And that's why he is not going to get harshly punished for this.
As much as I hope you're wrong, I agree. I think one thing that is a fact, though, is this is the most damning piece of evidence up to this point that has been released. Whenever you have a bank statement showing Steve Ballmer's co-owner, minority owner of the Clippers, and best friend and college roommate investing $2 million into a failing company who at the time could not even pay their own employees. One, that's not a good investment. And two, when 9 days later it's handed right to Kawhi Leonard and it says that in bank statements as well, that shores up any doubts for anyone outside the league, for anyone like us. Yes, we already did not assume, but kind of alluded to the fact that, hey, I mean, a lot of the evidence is here. This is the pen to paper of, oh shit, this actually happened. And Steve Ballmer was not the only one involved.
Exactly. And multiple parties played a role in this. And right now, I mean, come on, like Kawhi Leonard gets the majority share of whatever gets paid out in the bankruptcy. I mean, it's clear. The evidence is clear as day. And I don't think that they did a good job at covering the tracks at all. And I think this story is a big deal, not just to the NBA, but fans of the NBA, because there are some people on the opposite side of this fight that say, hey, it doesn't matter if Kawhi Leonard made more money. Why are you pocket watching? Why are you snitching? The people have called Pablo Torre a snitch for revealing this information. And this is what investigative journalism is. It is to find things that are going on that are corrupt. And this is a clear example of something that is corrupt. It's not more so about caring about how much Kawhi Leonard makes or what he doesn't make. It's about there's a cap in the NBA. And if NBA teams can circumvent it by giving players money elsewhere, then there's no cap at all. Then there's no restriction at all. Kawhi Leonard doesn't have an incentive to sign with the Clippers because he's not getting paid an extra $50 million because another team he'd rather go to will pay him a similar amount that the Clippers cannot. The Clippers can match, but they cannot, overpay for him. So I think that hurts the integrity of the league and how much people care about this story and what is being said about it consistently. I think is going to reveal a lot about where we are as a society and how much we care about a story like this.
100%. Whenever I think of Pablo Torre, it's crossed my mind that this has to be on purpose, the way he's releasing this. And I love it because, the bombshell drops last week. We all find out about it and everybody's reacting. And he lets enough time pass where number one, people come to his defense, Mark Cuban. Number two, the owners have their annual meeting. Number three, Adam Silver speaks on it and speaks on it the way he does. And then the single biggest piece of evidence that supports his findings is released after all of that happened, which basically puts clown paint on everybody who has defended him up to this point.
Yeah, it makes everybody look compromised and corrupt, and I think
That was his point.
yeah, it's not a surprise that Mark Cuban, a billionaire, is defending Steve Ballmer, a
Yeah,
billionaire.
for sure.
It's no surprise that the league is defending one of the richest and wealthiest owners. That is not a surprise. But clearly something corrupt is going on here, and the fact that they are not trying to hold him accountable just goes to show that everybody's compromised. And I think that's bad for the league, because what it means and what it signals is that for the right price, the NBA commissioner can be compromised. If you are valuable enough, the NBA can be compromised.
Yep.
And I think that is alarming.
Yeah, for sure. I think the final thing I want to say on it is the burden of proof that Adam Silver was talking about this week, with it being on the league. This piece of evidence in a fair case would have shifted that burden of proof. You have to prove that you invested. Why did you invest $2 million into a failing company? I think that is one thing that has shifted, at least outside perspective. But you're right. Everything going on internally, we don't know what's going to be investigated and what's not going to be investigated. You ready to get into the Southeast Division preview?
Let's get into it.
All right, let's start with the Atlanta Hawks. This is their offseason overview, and then, we'll give one thing to watch, record prediction, division finish, all that stuff. But this is what they did this offseason. They didn't re-sign anybody. They added Nickeil Alexander-Walker to a 4-year deal. They added Luke Kennard to a 1-year deal, and obviously Kristaps Porzingis in that 3-team trade. They said goodbye to Clint Capella, who went to the Rockets. Karis LeVert went to the Pistons. Terrence Mann, he's up in Brooklyn. Larry Nance Jr. is with the Cavs. Georges Niang was in that 3-team trade, and David Roddy was waived. What is your number one thing to watch for the Atlanta Hawks this upcoming season?
How healthy they can stay. With Jalen Johnson, Kristaps Porzingis, health is going to be what everybody's looking out for. If they can stay healthy, I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. That is a question mark with Kristaps Porzingis up until this point in his career, and Jalen Johnson, who got hurt last year. So I think health.
Yeah, 100%. Another thing I want to add is Trae Young's extension. This past week, I think it was Tim McMahon that said the future of Trae Young with the Atlanta Hawks continues to be, quote, murky. That's because he has not received that extension past this year. He does have a player option next season, but my thought would be he does not want to take that, 1-year, one-off player option. He wants to, sign a long-term deal in Atlanta, and it just has not happened. My record prediction for them is 46-36. I have them finishing second in this division, but no matter Kristaps' health, I think their additions on this roster are good enough to, have them finish 10 games over 500, but I don't envision them being a 50-win team because of Kristaps.
I think they're going to be a 50-win team.
And make that point.
Because they are one of the most talented teams in the East. It's the Knicks, it's the Cavs, and Atlanta, I think, is just as, if not more talented than the Orlando Magic.
That's not true, and that's where we disagree. The Orlando Magic, a team that you argue Franz Wagner is the best player on, they have a former number 1 overall draft pick in Paolo Banchero. They made one of the biggest offseason trades in Desmond Bane, and we'll get to where they will finish and where I think they will finish. But as far as Eastern Conference royalty, this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 3 years. This is a team who has to rely on Kristaps Porzingis' health whenever we bring up on this show. Nobody knows what happened to Kristaps Porzingis in last year's playoffs. Nobody knows. And we still don't know if that's lingering, if it's not. He just disappeared in the playoffs, and nobody talks about it. Nobody reports on it. Nobody does anything about it. Kristaps Porzingis, yes, his physical body has been injured, but now it seems like something much deeper is going on, and I'm not relying on that for them to be some type of 50-win team and finish third in the Eastern Conference. Jalen Johnson has to stay healthy on top of that. Zachary Ricochet has to take another leap on top of that. Luke Kennard is a guy who logged DNPs for the Memphis Grizzlies, who refused to shoot the ball because of his shooting percentage. He knew he was on a 1-year deal. He knows he's on a 1-year deal now, and he wants to keep that percentage as high as possible, the number 1 percentage in the NBA. So Nickeil Alexander-Walker being added to this, yes, is a great piece, and that's why I have them 10 games over 500, but not a 50-win team.
Atlanta has 3 All-Stars. Orlando has 3 All-Stars. Atlanta's 3 All-Stars are Trae Young, Porzingis, and Jalen Johnson. I think they complement each other much more than Orlando's big 3 with Franz Paolo, who I don't think complement each other at all. And Desmond Bane, he fits with any team. Kristaps Porzingis and what happened with him, I don't think is alarming, because we've seen in FIBA basketball over the summer that Porzingis has been dominating the games that he's played in. It seems like he's back to playing very high level basketball. I think he'll be fine for the regular season. I don't expect him to play 70 games, but I expect him to play 50 games at least. I think you can expect him to miss anywhere from 20 to 30 games a year. And I think Atlanta, with all the additions they added, having a top 3 defensive player of the year candidate, having one of the best point guards in the NBA, having one of the best forwards in the NBA and Jalen Johnson on one of the best deals in the NBA, having a defender, an offensive player like Kristaps Porzingis who provides spacing, Reese Shea getting better in his second season. We're talking about a first overall pick here. And then the addition of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, you have Onyeka Okongwu. This team is very talented, and I think they will be a 50-win team this year.
Number one, Kristaps Porzingis is not an all-star anymore. Nothing I saw towards the end of last season shows me that he's an all-star.
He's not an all-star level player?
He could not start in the playoffs, Joel.
Because
they had him coming off the bench. He was so bad, and his plus-minus was so bad. He was such a liability that the team he had just won a championship with did not start him. They played him.
What did Bain do in the playoffs? He's not good.
I'm talking about one team has 3 all-stars and the other one doesn't. Kristaps Porzingis is not an all-star anymore. If last time I checked, Jalen Johnson hasn't made an all-star team yet.
He's an all-star caliber player.
100% he's an all-star caliber player. But you talk about fit as well. Fit on top of the Kristaps Porzingis point. Well, Orlando Magic were last in three-point shooting percentage the past couple years. They went out and got one of the best shooters in the NBA. I think that's a good fit. Fit.
It is a good fit. The Atlanta Hawks needed somebody to alleviate pressure off of Trae Young. Jalen Johnson has do-it-all skills at the forward spot. If we're being technical about it, Porzingis, if you say he's not an all-star, if Jalen Johnson's not an all-star, then Desmond Bane's not an all-star because he's never made one, and Franz Wagner isn't an all-star either. That means both these teams just have technically one all-star in Trae and Paolo Banchero. If we want to be technical about it, if you want to be technical, then that's the technicality of it. And Desmond Bane also was awful in the playoffs, and he was healthy.
He 100% was awful, but he was in a role that's not meant for him. He was not a third option in those playoffs. John Morant was knocked out of that series. Him as a first or second option, we have seen, is not good. It does not have good results. But talking about technicality, Kristaps Porzingis isn't going to be able to flank Trae Young because he wasn't able to flank Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Drew Holiday. All 4 of those guys, and not to mention he couldn't start over a 40-year-old Al Horford. So why would he start over a Onyeka Okongwu? We're talking about Kristaps Porzingis potentially coming off the bench here.
Porzingis is going to come off the bench?
That's what he did. If he can't start over a 40-year-old Al Horford, why would you start him over Okongwu?
Porzingis
if he looks like that, I
bench.
think it results in Kristaps Porzingis getting benched 3 months into the season.
If he we're in 3 different timelines here. We're in the future, what's going to happen, what happened in the playoffs, and what happened in the middle there. FIBA basketball, where Porzingis looked
amazing.
We're
judging this off FIBA basketball. Dennis Schroeder would be
an
all-NBA player in FIBA.
The last time Porzingis was playing basketball, he was awesome. That is what I'm saying. The last time he played basketball, he was awesome. He was dealing with the sickness. That's why he was playing so poorly. But throughout the entire regular season for the Celtics, he's always been their 3rd most valuable player. He was very valuable to them in a regular season. We're talking about the regular season right now.
You cover the NBA for a living. I do too. We turn on a FIBA game this month, and 9 times out of 10, I would not be able to name 3 guys on the court with Kristaps Porzingis. And you wouldn't be able to either. I'm not bringing FIBA basketball into this conversation.
That matters.
The last time we saw him, if it matters, then Dennis Schroeder would be a $200 million player because for Germany, he is that good. I'm just talking about the last time he was on an NBA court, he was unstartable.
And Dennis Schroeder is a really good player. And Alperen Şengün right now is dominating FIBA, and he's an all-star player. And Kristaps Porzingis, the fact that he went from what you said, unplayable, to now he looks good at playing basketball again. Who
else
in FIBA.
Is their team going to play, Joel? Who else are they going to run?
It's not about who's they're going to play. It's about how he's playing, and how he's playing is really well. So I can expect that the Atlanta Hawks are getting a good Kristaps Porzingis, and I think he's going to be good for them. I don't think he's going to be a bench player for them.
We shall see. I mean, more miles this summer on an already glassy Kristaps Porzingis. I don't know if it results in. I'm just not ready to judge it off FIBA basketball.
Okay. Well, I think I'm judging it off of his history. His history is that he's an all-star caliber
His
player.
history is that he doesn't play. His history is that he doesn't play.
In the playoffs, in the regular season, he's available for the most part.
We shall see. On to the Charlotte Hornets. Offseason overview for them. They re-signed Trey Mann to a 3-year deal. They added Pat Connaughton via a trade with the Bucks. They added Spencer Dinwiddie to a 1-year deal, Mason Plumlee to a 1-year deal, Colin Sexton in that bizarre trade with the Utah Jazz. They said goodbye to Micic, Yusuf Nurkic, and Josh Okogie. Mark Williams also departed in a trade with the Suns. What is your number one thing to watch?
It's health as well.
Mm-hmm.
LaMelo hasn't played over 60 games since his rookie year, I believe. He just always has an injury bug, and then Brandon Miller got hurt this past season. That's what I'm watching for, but I think if things go right, they're a 35-win team. I think with LaMelo staying healthy, Brandon Miller staying healthy, Con Kneppel adding him to the team, I think they have some weaknesses at center. They don't have a lot of viable centers, but I think this team, if they're healthy in a weak East, could rattle off some wins here, but that's like best case scenario. This is probably going to be like a 30-win team.
Yeah, that's what I have him as. I have him going 30 and 52. My number one thing to watch is Miller's 3rd-year leave. You know, he's unhealthy most of his second year. Can he take a jump this year? I'm interested to see if that affects anything, because regardless of LaMelo's health, I think if this team is going anywhere, Brandon Miller has to be a big part of that. I've been finishing 4th in the division as well, and then, you know, at the end with the full standings of it. But let's get to the Miami Heat. They didn't re-sign anybody, but they did add Davion Mitchell, Norman Powell, and Fontecchio. Said goodbye to Kyle Anderson, Hayward Highsmith, Kevin Love in that Jazz trade, and Duncan Robinson went to the Pistons in a sign-and trade. What's your number one thing to watch for them?
Offensive creation. They're a great defensive team, but last year they really struggled offensively because Tyler Hero was the only player offensively who could generate anything for them. And that's why Norman Powell being added to the team helps them a lot. When Kawhi was out, he was averaging 23 to 24 points per game for the LA Clippers. He was getting some all-star nods. So I think his spark offensively is going to be a big boost to this team. But this feels like a 41-41 win team. It feels like a team that's going to be 500, if not a little bit below that. They're going to be a playing team, but that's where I see them. I think they added a major offensive player to their team, and that should get them better at the very least.
I don't see them as a 41 win team. I see them closer to the Hornets than that. My number one thing to watch is Norm Powell's fit there. I mean, is Andrew Wiggins still going to be on the roster? I keep getting rumors about LA. That hasn't happened yet. Seems like a bit of overlap whenever it comes to their roster. Bam Adebayo took a step back last season. Tyler Hero made an all-star team, but you can argue if he was in the West, he would not have made that all-star team. So the fit and the direction of this team is clunky, and I think this is the year that, you know, in spring they had I believe a 12-game losing streak. I feel like that continues on, and it's a 35-47 record for them.
Miami closer to Charlotte. So you had Charlotte 30, and then you have Miami 37.
I got them at 35.
35. Okay, 35. I mean, I don't know. I think you're selling Miami a little bit short.
Norm Powell, I understand, like, he had a good year for the LA Clippers and stuff, but James Harden, your guy, had a lot to do with that. And the gravitational pull he has on any basketball court that he steps on, Norm Powell is going to be there with Tyler Hero. And Tyler Hero, as great of a scorer as he is, he's not the decision maker and facilitator that James Harden is. And especially if Andrew Wiggins is there, that's just another guy around him that just doesn't fit with me. The Norm Powell thing, yes, on paper they got him for super cheap, but like team-wise, I don't know if it's the best fit for him.
There was just 2 additions that I feel like are going to help out the Heat. Number 1 is Powell, and number 2 is the ascension of Davion Mitchell. I think that he found a real home in Miami. He was good in the playoffs, and his defense is what they need coming off the bench. So that's where I feel like Miami is going to be a team that they're going to be an average team. I think they're going to have some good moments, but overall they need some serious leaps from young players that they have, whether it's Jaime Jaquez, Khalil Ware, Pell Larson. They need one of those guys to step up and be a consistent role player for them.
Yeah, and I think one fact we can both agree on is the Terry Rozier trade from 2 years ago has been an absolute disaster, not because of the gambling stuff, but the on-court play has been miserable as well. He's, I think, trying to negotiate a buyout. He doesn't want one. The team does. It's a whole mess with that too. So throw that in there with all the other problems they have going on as well. The next team is a team that I argue is going to be better than the Atlanta Hawks. It's the Orlando Magic. They re-signed Paulo Banchero, 5-year extension, Mo Wagner on a 1-year deal. They added Desmond Bane via that Grizzlies trade. They got another former Grizzly and Tyus Jones on a 1-year deal in free agency. Said goodbye to Cole Anthony, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Gary Harris. What's your number one thing to watch for the Orlando Magic?
How much does Desmond Bane improve their shooting woes? It is just one player. So is that one player going to be enough at his volume to now make this a great 3-point shooting team? Because this was the worst 3-point shooting team in the NBA last year. And I think adding a player of Desmond Bane's caliber helps that. But I don't know if it makes you one of the 15 best shooting teams now if you have 4 other players in a lineup that can't shoot the basketball consistently, and Suggs, Franz, Paolo, and then Wendell Carter Jr. So that is my concern. I still think that although Desmond Bane's addition helps their shooting, I don't think it solves it completely because that's just one player. And KCP, coming from Denver last year, did shoot well for Denver, then goes to Orlando, shoots poorly. But from 2025 onwards, KCP did shoot the ball well. It's difference in volume. He's going to maybe at most take 3 to 4 attempts a game, where Desmond Bane's taking like 8 to 10. So that's the difference in volume there. But KCP shot well in the second half of the year, and they still were not a good 3-point shooting team. So I think we have to see if the spacing is still fixed, because I don't think one player fixes the spacing. You watch the Memphis Grizzlies, and Desmond Bane has been an elite shooter for Memphis for his entire career, and Memphis' spacing still has been wonky, even with him on the court. So that's what I want to see with Orlando. And then the fit between Paolo and Franz.
You're right. One player doesn't fix the spacing. But what if I told you they added another player who shoots 5 3-pointers a game at a 41% clip? What would you say?
If you tell me it's Tyus Jones, I'm not going to care.
Tyus Jones takes 5 a game at a 31% clip. That is 2 players who shoot above 40% and can solve problems like that.
And Tyus Jones does not matter to me in this equation.
He does not matter. A team that literally doesn't have a point guard outside of Jalen Suggs. They add a point guard and a guy who fixed the shooting woes, and he just doesn't matter.
I don't think Tyus Jones is that good. I think there's a reason why
he's not a starter. He's not a starter.
Not.
And he's shown that in Washington, he's not a starter. In Phoenix, he's not a starter. But what he showed in Memphis is he is a great backup point guard, which is the role he's going to be asked to play here.
He also showed in Memphis that being a backup point guard, he was terrible in the playoffs. And then with the Suns, when he was a backup point guard, Colin Gillespie was looking better than him. So they ended up not playing Tyus anymore. So I think Tyus is fine, but I don't think like him alone.
We're not.
I just don't see it. Like I don't see like him and Tyus Jones being the major additions. I think Desmond Bane's addition is good on its own. I think that Jace Richardson has potential to be better than Tyus Jones year one.
It's not outrageous, but I'm just saying, as far as Orlando, if you would have swapped out Cole Anthony, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Gary Harris for Desmond Bane, Tyus Jones, and you re-sign the guys you need to re-sign, you would take that trade 100% of the time. You cannot argue this team has gotten better. So if they're not going to be better than the Atlanta Hawks, what record does it take for them to finish behind Atlanta, in your opinion?
In the regular season, I think they could finish with a better record than Atlanta, just because Atlanta has injury concerns with Porzingis.
That's what we've been talking about, Joel.
Yes. But no, you've been talking about the playoffs, and that's why.
You just brought up Tyus Jones in the playoffs. I wasn't the only one.
Because you brought up Porzingis first. That's why I brought up Tyus Jones. Yeah, because you're propping up Tyus Jones, but you were just dismissing Porzingis this entire time. So Orlando, they have injury concerns of their own, though. Paolo and Franz, oblique injuries last year. Jalen Suggs has consistently been injured in his NBA career. So they have had some injury concerns as well. But I think that they're going to hover around the 50-win mark. I think they're going to be a team, once again, led by their defense. That's what I think is going to be their calling card. Yeah. And this is going to be like a 52-win team. They're going to be a 50-win team. It's going to be 50 to 52 wins. But they're not that much better than Atlanta. They're not.
In this Eastern Conference, a team this talented with as much shooting now on the roster, it's 55 win team. I got them 54-28. Clear runaway for the division at first. That would be an 8-game lead over Atlanta in the standings as well. We'll just agree to disagree then.
Maybe divisions need to start mattering in the NBA.
Well, the Eastern Conference standings do matter, and they will be 8 games ahead in those Eastern Conference standings. So
Okay, 8 games ahead. I don't know about that.
46 and 36, and I have Orlando 54 and 28, and it's not that hard to sell. Washington Wizards are the final team. Speaking of hard to sell, they re-signed no one, but they did bring back Marvin Bagley on a 1-year deal. They added Malachi Branham, Dylan Jones, C.J. McCollum, Kelly Olynyk, Blake Wesley, Cam Whitmore. They said goodbye to Sadiq Bey, Anthony Gill, Rashawn Holmes, who I did not know was in the league, Kelly Olynyk, Jordan Poole, and Marcus Smart was waived as well. One thing to watch for them.
If their young players take leaps into being offensive or good offensive players.
Yeah.
Alex Sarr was terrible offensively. Bilal Coulibaly was still terrible offensively. If those two players can be better offensively, I think it bodes well for their future. But I think the best young prospect here is Trey Johnson, the player they just drafted. With his shooting ability, he's able to score 19 to 21 a night. I think he's going to be one of the better scorers in the league. And then Bub Carrington is going to get a bigger role as well. Because they added vets like CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton, although injured most of the time, I think that this team could be like a 25-win team, maybe like capped out. But that's what it feels like their like ceiling is. And having those two players, I think if maybe they're a little bit better than they expect, they're going to trade them at the trade deadline, maybe to get something back, especially with them being on expiring deals. So Washington this year is just about the growth of their young players offensively. Defensively, they have shown some flashes, but offensively, there's still a lot to be worked on. So I think that is the main question for them.
Yeah, I agree. I want to add Alex Sarr in there as well. I just want to see what he can do in his second year because, it started off rough. His summer league last year was rough. I want to see a leap from him. Record prediction, I mean, it's dismal. They won 18 games last year, Joel. Like, I'm going winning 15 this year, 15 and 67. All their vets are gone. I mean, if you want to count CJ McCollum in 2025, go ahead. But I feel like there's something to be said about Marcus Smart and the other guys they had on the roster, Chris Middleton and stuff. Chris Middleton will be back, but how much will he play? We'll just has yet to be seen. But 15 and 67, last in the division.
Yeah, I mean, they're terrible. They're terrible. They're young. They're terrible. They want to be terrible. They want to get a top pick. And if they are better than we expect, that the Knicks get their first round pick. So they don't want that to happen.
You're going to be watching that closely. I know. Let's get into the top 25, over 25. We did the top 25, under 25 a couple weeks back, but over 25 is interesting. Before we get into 25 through 20, we're going to fly through the list. Who are the guys that you think were your first ones out? Some names that you wanted to put on the list, just couldn't find room.
Ivica Zubac was probably the first guy out for me that I felt like should have probably been on the list. Mm-hmm. And outside of that, I don't feel bad about anybody else not being on it.
Well, I do, and one of them's on your favorite team. Mikal Bridges, I felt bad about not having on this list. Vincent Zubac was a name. OG Anunoby, another guy on your team, I felt bad about leaving off this list. Aaron Gordon, Desmond Bane, of course. Draymond Green didn't really feel that bad about. Julius Randle didn't really feel that bad about, and same with Lauri Markkanen. But Austin Reeves, another guy to leave off this list as well. So I don't know if you're not a Knicks fan. I know you switched NFL teams here recently, but did you switch NBA teams? Did you miss something?
No, I'm still loyal to the soil, and that goes with every aspect of my life. So I'm doing it with the Knicks. I'm going all the way. I didn't feel bad about leaving OG and Mikal out, because the players in front of them are just, I think, a little bit better than them. That's it. But hey, the fact that they're even being mentioned by you is a step in the right direction. I like it.
It is, and there'll be some Grizzlies players thrown in here in a couple years as well. You're lucky Ja Morant is 25 and not over 25. He would have been all up on this list. But, who are the guys you put ahead of all the names we just talked about at 25 through 20?
James Harden is 25. The way that he can control the game still, his playmaking ability, the way that we saw him uptick his scoring at the latter part of the season, I just think that he gives you such a safe offensive floor. And that's why I'm going with James Harden. Number 24 is De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is still one of the fastest players in the league who can get to the basket at will. He's been a little bit more jump shot happy as of recently, but I think that playing with Wemby, maybe that aggressiveness comes back a little bit more. Number 23 is Bam Adebayo. For his two-way ability, he can anchor a defense, and offensively, he hasn't grown like you'd want him to, but he still is a 19-point-per-game type of player who has a solid mid-range shot, but the finishing around the rim is something he still struggles with. Number 22 is Domantas Sabonis. He might not be the perfect fit for playoff basketball. He is a triple-double machine in the regular season who can facilitate an offense, rebound at a high level, and he has a good post game with his bully ball style. Number 21 is the biggest playoff riser of them all. It's Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's playoff rising abilities and capabilities is something that I can't ignore. In a big game, you trust him. Over the last 2 seasons, it has not been as good as the years prior, but it still has been all-star level, and I think that people dismiss it. And then number 20 is the co-star of a team that just made the NBA Finals, and that's Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam is very versatile. He's more of like a small forward in a power forward's body. He can dribble the ball. He can create his own shot. He can defend. Pascal Siakam lands at number 20 for me.
Yeah, first reaction here, James Harden is way too low. At 25, I have Derek White, a guy who almost any championship team would want on their roster. At 24, I have DeMontis Sabonis, all the reasons you said. Same with Jamal Murray at 23 and De'Aaron Fox at 22. My 21 is Jimmy Butler. I know he's 35 years old, but I think he still has some left in the tank. And at 20, I have Bam Adebayo. Any reaction there?
No, I think it's a pretty solid list. That means you have James Harden pretty high. I'm wondering to see who you have him over.
Oh, I'm going to keep naming names before I get to him. And that's why my reaction was as disrespectful as it was, because you, the ultimate James Harden stan, having James Harden this low is really, really fascinating to me.
I don't think it's low. It's he's 36 years old. And
he was the best player on the
level.
Clippers last year. Can we agree on that? He was better than Kawhi Leonard and better than Norm Powell and better than Ivica Zubac.
He's not better than Kawhi. At this point in the career, he's not better than Kawhi.
At this point in his career, I think he is better than Kawhi. And he's, 2 years older than Kawhi Leonard? Kawhi Leonard, I mean, yes, he had a good series, but we remember what happened in that series. And throughout the regular season, he was unavailable, which is why I have him above Kawhi Leonard. He was better throughout the season than Kawhi Leonard. It's not that hard.
We'll get to where you have Harden in a bit. Number 19 through 15. 19, I have Cat. One of the best offensive centers in basketball, but the defensive liabilities of him are real. He can't guard fives. He can't move well in space. He is a walking mismatch for opposing offenses, and that's why they hunt him down. And that's why the Pacers hunted him down, and I think his offense is what propels his game, but he's a really bad defender. Number 18 is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving recently was just a co-star on the team that made the NBA Finals. He has always been near a 50, 40, 90 player. He can average 25 a night. He's one of the best shot makers in the league. Number 17 is Trae Young. Gets snubbed from the All-Star every year, it seems like, even with his great counting stats. I think the one knock on him is efficiency. But if he is your point guard, you are going to, at the very least, get a top 10 offense. Number 16 is Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, Finals MVP, two-way player. But I think his weakness is his ball handling and his playmaking. And that's why at 15, I have Jimmy Butler over him, because I think Jimmy Butler is a more well-rounded player. And we saw the addition of Jimmy Butler when he went to Golden State. It completely flipped their season around. And he had some awesome games against the Rockets in the first round, even while injured. So Jimmy Butler, I think still in big moments you can count on him. And now that he's invested into Golden State, you're going to see a bought-in Jimmy, and we're going to see how good he really is.
So you have Jimmy Butler ahead of this year's version of Karl Anthony Towns and this year's version of Trae Young.
Yes.
Okay.
He plays defense.
Yeah, it's the ultimate Knicks thing to, on the list like this, to have him at 19 and then just to rip him to shreds. Like, he's not the guy who just led y'all to the first Eastern Conference Finals in a long, long time, and you put him at 19. If you think I'm going to start naming names before I get to James Harden, just wait till you hear Cat. At 19, I have Pascal Siakam. You know, that finals run I cannot ignore. A great, great player, especially in transition. Kawhi Leonard lands here at 18, few spots behind James Harden here. The unreliability goes into that. The age goes into that. The lack of consistency in his play also here recently goes into that. Kyrie Irving is at 17. For all the reasons you name, he can still average what he averaged. Yes, he hurt, but last year he had a fantastic year before he got hurt. He carried the bulk of that load for the Dallas Mavericks, not only on the court, but off the court as well. He was the one figure for Dallas that sounded somewhat sensible throughout all of the Luka madness. At 16, I have Trae Young. It is unfathomable to me that you have Jimmy Butler above a guy like Trae Young, who is 26 years old in the midst of his prime. And at 15, 10 spots ahead of your 25 position is where I have James Harden.
I think Jimmy Butler plays defense, and I think you're undervaluing defense, which makes sense. You have Harden and Cat high, so I don't think you care much about defense. And
Mikal Bridges was one of my first ones out. So
yeah, but he doesn't have the offense of neither of those guys. Jimmy Butler is a great offensive player and a great defensive player. He's the best of both worlds. And the reason why I have him over Trae Young is because Trae Young plays no defense. And Jimmy Butler, when he got to Golden State, they were one of the best teams in the NBA, and they could have made a conference finals run had Steph Curry not gotten hurt. I mean, that is a reality. I think you're undervaluing Jimmy Butler's impact, especially when him and Draymond were on the court. They had the number one defense in the NBA. They were that good. And then I think going through my 14 through 11, I'll go. 14, I have Kawhi Leonard. I think you're undervaluing Kawhi Leonard a lot, and you're knocking him for the availability stuff. But when he's on the floor, nobody would say James Harden is better than Kawhi Leonard. When both of them are on the floor, when Kawhi came back, that's when the Clippers started to look like serious contenders because of Kawhi Leonard's brilliance. Kawhi Leonard's at 14, and he's still a good defender. Number 13 is Devin Booker. Devin Booker is still one of the best shooting guards in the NBA. I think he's getting a little bit underrated because he's in a bad situation, and he's forced to play the point guard position. Number 12 is Donovan Mitchell. And then number 11 is Jalen Brunson.
Donovan Mitchell this low too. It's just, give me 1 second while I'm pulling up Kawhi Leonard's stats, by the way. And as far as the Jimmy Butler conversation goes, you're talking about a guy who averages 17 points a game and yes, plays defense. But Trae Young is a guy that has year over year averaged damn near 30 and 10 because he's in the midst of his prime. It's not that I don't value defense. It's I value players and superstars in their prime. And don't get me wrong.
Trae's taking more shots than Jimmy. Way more.
Yeah, 100%.
Trae has the ball.
I have to ask
90%
myself,
of the game.
would I rather have Mikal Bridges or Jimmy Butler on my team? I can't answer it.
Why would you?
That is a tough decision for me. I cannot answer. Reliability. Mikal Bridges is an Iron Man. Mikal Bridges at this point in Jimmy's career does everything that Jimmy Butler does.
No.
Virtually the same stats.
No. If you think that the Knicks don't get better with swapping Mikal for Jimmy Butler, you are insane.
It's not that I don't value defense. I value somewhat of a facilitator. James Harden was the engine.
Jimmy is that. Jimmy can play make at a high level.
For sure. But back to James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, I value that over what Kawhi has given me. James averages more points, more assists, and yes, you can talk about the defense, but Kawhi, throughout his age, last spring, I remember people asking, is Kawhi Leonard ever going to be the same? Then he showed up for a series in the playoffs, and people think he's all the way back.
He showed up for the last 3 months of the regular season and was awesome.
I've never seen a player get paid more for less. Kawhi Leonard's tenure at the LA Clippers has been an absolute failure. They have won 3 series throughout the entire half a decade plus that he has been there.
Who is better in the playoffs, James Harden or Kawhi?
Over his career, it's been Kawhi Leonard, but we're talking
who is better this past series versus Denver?
It was Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi is their best player.
For 82 games, it was James Harden.
But Kawhi is their best player. If Harden is their best player, they are in trouble.
If Kawhi Leonard's their best player like they were in the playoff series, they lose in the first round. If James Harden shows up and does what he does for 82 games and is the best player in that series, they win it. If Kawhi Leonard's your best player right now, you saw what happened. They get bounced in the first round.
Kawhi is the only reason why they were able to take that series to 7. He had a masterclass of a game where he did not miss. Are you forgetting about that game or no? Who had more stinkers in the series? Harden had about 3 stinkers in that series where he was absolutely awful.
We know this. Harden chokes.
So I'm just wondering, what is it that you value? Because with Porzingis, it's not the regular season, it's the playoffs. With Harden, it's the regular season, but not the playoffs. So what is it that you value?
I value that the best player on the team throughout the entirety of the season was James Harden. Porzingis is not even in this conversation. You can leave him out of it.
But do you think that Harden is a better basketball player than Kawhi Leonard?
Right now, yes. Over the sense of their career, no. In their primes, no. James Harden right now is better than Kawhi Leonard.
Okay. I can't agree with that. But I want to hear your 14 through 11.
All right, we move on. 14 is Jaylen Brown. 13 is Devin Booker. 12 is where I have Karl Anthony Towns. You had him at 19, I have him at 12.
Over Devin Booker.
Yes, over Devin Booker.
You
Yes.
think the Knicks get worse if they add Devin Booker for Karl Anthony Towns?
Who is going to play big man for them if you add Devin Booker and leave Karl Anthony Towns?
You'll find somebody, but that's Devin Booker.
It is Devin Booker. Did you watch last season?
Devin Booker's better than Karl Anthony Towns.
I have watched Karl Anthony Towns in the last 2 years go to back-to-back conference finals.
As the second best player on his team.
There were some games where Jalen Brunson wasn't there. There were some games where his young guy, Anthony Edwards, wasn't there. He has stepped up. I watched Devin Booker as a second option behind Kevin Durant not get out of the first round. We watched him go to the finals 4 years ago, but this is a list at the end of 2025. We're talking about right now, Karl Anthony Towns is a better player than Devin Booker.
If you can tell me that I'm the Knicks and I can get Devin Booker for Karl Anthony Towns, I would make that trade 10 times out of 10. Hell, we were talking about if the Knicks could trade Cat for KD, and we were saying that would be a good trade. If it's for Devin Booker, you're jumping to the phone. If you have to trade Mikal Bridges for a big man, you're doing that, and you're getting him up out of there to bring in a center. Devin Booker is a better player than Karl Anthony Towns. You're
making that argument because of the defensive liability of Jalen Brunson makes Karl Anthony Towns more expendable on that roster. That is why you're making that argument.
The Wolves moved on from Cat because he's also an awful defender.
Okay, that's fine. That is fine. But Karl Anthony Towns now on two different teams where he's been counted out, even by his own fans, has led them to a conference finals.
Okay, and if you have Devin Booker there, you don't have that same type of defensive liability on your team, and you can maybe get a center that is a better defender. Karl Anthony Towns is not a better player than Devin Booker. Right now, if you had to pick between one of those guys to be the best player on your team, all things equal, not a dysfunctional organization, you're picking Devin Booker.
Yeah, in this NBA, I am because he's a guard. I don't want my big man to be the best player on my roster. It's not about that.
So how is he ranked over him?
What'd you say?
So how is he ranked over him?
Because he has been better over the last year than Devin Booker. Devin Booker had a bad year last year. I know you probably didn't watch because they didn't sniff the play-in, but he was not a good second option.
The standards for Devin Booker is insane because a bad year is 26, 6, and 6.
Yeah, we're used to him watching him carry a team to the NBA Finals. The role he played on Team USA defensively, I'm like, everybody talked themselves into the Suns this time last year, and he was a big reason why. And he has not came through.
He's not came through because the Suns roster is garbage.
That's true, too.
He averaged 26 points and 7 assists.
People thought
that's a down year.
People thought the Knicks had the most shallow roster in the entire NBA, and look what they did last year. They had nobody off the bench, bro. That was Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges.
The Knicks all year were the third best team in the East. It was Boston. It was Cleveland. People put over them.
Because of Cat. He was a huge part of that.
And if Devin Booker was on the team, the same thing would be said. Devin Booker makes the Knicks better, actually.
It would be a better fit because instead of two defensive liabilities, you have one. I think player for player, Karl Anthony Towns is right there with Devin Booker, if not better. And
who's a better defender? Who's a better defender?
Devin Booker's a better defender.
Who scores better?
According to statistics, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns has scored more points.
No. Who scores better, Devin Booker or Karl Anthony Towns?
Devin Booker.
Okay, so what the hell does Cat do better than Devin Booker? He doesn't play make better. He doesn't score better. He doesn't defend better.
He shoots better.
If you're going to tell me
he's a lot more efficient.
If you're going to tell me he just rebounds better than Devin Booker, and that's why he's better.
I'm talking about rebounding. I'm talking about 3-point shooting. I'm talking about efficiency. What you can throw in all of that in here. Karl Anthony Towns over the past 2 years has done what he has done. He has surpassed Devin Booker player for player.
And even discussing efficiency, you still say Devin Booker is a better scorer than him.
I didn't say efficiency. I said scorer, Devin Booker, yes.
Okay, but
I would rather have a shooting guard as far as like scoring than Karl Anthony Towns, sure.
But he's just Devin Booker. If you want to get a basket, I'm giving the ball to him instead of Cat. 10 times out of 10.
It's fair. It's fair. He's a guard. He's a guard.
But what do you mean he's just guard? I'm not giving the ball to Devin Booker over Nikola Jokic to score. It doesn't matter about positions. It matters about how good you can score.
This frustrates me to no end because no matter what the Knicks do this year, you always feel like you're right. You feel like you're right.
You think Cat's better than Devin Booker.
If you go to the NBA Finals, you're like, you can cheer as a fan. You're like, hell yeah, like my Knicks made the NBA Finals. If you're not, you can point the finger at Cat. You can point the finger at Mikal Bridges, who y'all still hate the trade despite making the Eastern Conference Finals and being, the lead odds-on favorite to potentially win this Eastern Conference. Why can't Knicks fans just be happy and see your team for what it is?
I am happy. You're saying he's better than Devin Booker.
He is better than
That's why. That's what I'm unhappy about. Is I think Devin Booker's a better player.
Yeah, as a second option, Karl Anthony Towns has done a lot more. Granted, he's been on a lot better teams. I'm not going to argue that. But as far as what I have seen the last year or two, Karl Anthony Towns, as much as guys or as fans hate him, and rightfully so, the moaning, all the feminist shit that he does, the voice changing, it's all weird behavior. But you cannot argue he has had a better 2-year run than Devin Booker.
Number 10 to me is Anthony Davis. Number 9 is LeBron James. Number 8 is Kevin Durant.
He's so high.
Number 7 is Steph Curry. And number 6 is Joel Embiid.
I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't even think about Joel Embiid on that until right.
Yeah, that's disrespectful because if he's healthy, he's one of the best players in the world.
Yeah, but I asked you a question last week. Do you think they will waive and stretch Joel? Do you think the 76ers could waive and stretch Joel Embiid after this year? That's a real possibility.
It is. But I give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, for sure. I can add Joel Embiid into this list, but with everything that has gone on, with you saying in the past weeks that you think it is over for Joel Embiid, it's over for him. He's cooked, in your words, and to have him above the names you just named is crazy to me. So Joel Embiid, I'll just leave that conversation to a side. Kevin Durant's high to me. At 10 is where I have KD. LeBron James is ahead of him at 9. Jason Tatum is at 8. Your Jalen Brunson is at 7. And above all of them at 6 is a guy you had deep in your teens, Donovan Mitchell at 6.
Donovan Mitchell's at 6 over Kevin Durant.
He had the number 1 team in the NBA record-wise last year.
And he got embarrassed in the playoffs in the second round.
He 100% did, but Donovan Mitchell is the 6th best guy over 25 on this list.
Kevin Durant would go to 2 of the teams you mentioned and would be the best player on those teams. He'd go to the Knicks and be the best player on their team. He'd go to the Cavs and be the best player on that team. That's how good Kevin Durant is. It's KD. I had him too. No, you had him too low.
KD as the best player on multiple teams now.
Okay.
You and I do not feel confident in Houston. We favor Denver over Houston because we
Yes.
doubt the reliability, and not only that, the scoring load that has to be put on him. At this stage in his career, Kevin Durant has not converted to winning. Donovan Mitchell has.
What do
LeBron
you
James,
mean?
even to a point, has.
Wait.
Jason Tatum clearly has.
Why
Jalen
has
Brunson
Mitchell
clearly
converted?
has.
Why has Mitchell converted to winning, but KD hasn't?
Mitchell's been the number 1 seed in the NBA.
So that's what winning is, just being a number 1 seed, but not the playoff stuff.
You want to talk about winning with Kevin Durant? He missed the play-in last year, Joel.
He missed a plan because the Suns were garbage and he was hurt. When he was healthy,
It's never his fault. Anywhere he's at, it's never his
what
fault.
do you mean?
Ever.
When he was healthy, the Suns were a playoff team. He got injured. That's why they fell in.
They got swept. The last 2 series Kevin Durant has been in, he's been swept.
Okay,
Talk about embarrassed in the playoffs. What are you talking about?
You're using a team infrastructure as your argument. The only thing that Don Mitchell has better than KD is he has a better team. He has Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and Jared Allen. Kevin Durant does not have that. It was Devin Booker and a bunch of scrubs he was playing with. That's the reality of the situation.
Swept with the Suns 2 years ago, and he got swept with the Nets the year before that. That is 2 different teams.
The Cavaliers lost in the second round in back-to-back years, and this past year they were the number 1 seed and they were favorites, and they lost in 5 games. I think it was
100%. It's disappointing. I'm not arguing that it's disappointing, but they had injuries. You love to bring up injuries.
There's no way.
You love to bring up injuries in that series.
Donovan Mitchell has not proven he can win more than Kevin Durant. That's not true. That's not true.
Last
pound for pound,
4 years,
what is this? What is this?
This is a guy who was getting in the number 1 seed in Utah.
What is this? You got to getting embarrassed and losing.
Not getting swept in his last 2 series. We're talking about right now.
Yes, because the Timberwolves were a conference finals team, and then you look at last year, he got hurt. But then with the Nets, look at what happened in 2021 with the Nets.
The Rockets would have the exact same expectations right now if you swapped out Kevin Durant for Donovan Mitchell.
Okay, no doubt, but Kevin Durant's a better player than him. Kevin Durant's a better scorer. Kevin Durant is a better defender. Kevin Durant's more efficient.
Kevin Durant is on a very, very, very good team right now.
Yes, he is. There's no doubt about it.
I'm going into this season thinking Cleveland's going to have a better record because Donovan Mitchell is a better player.
You're thinking that the Cavs are going to have a better record because they have the reigning defensive player of the year, another all-star guard as a co-star, and a great center in Jared Allen.
Who is higher on Alperen Şengün than you? Who is higher on Amin Thompson than you?
Whose supporting cast is better, the Cavaliers or the Rockets?
I can argue that Houston is deeper.
No, Evan Mobley is better than
for sure. Cleveland's supporting cast is better, but I can argue that Houston is deeper.
Okay, they have more depth. That can be your argument, but the better supporting cast is Cleveland. They have a better supporting cast. Kevin Durant is. Did you make your list and just look at the NBA standings and say that's why this guy's higher than that guy?
No.
Kevin
And you have
Durant's
yet to respond. When Donovan Mitchell is placed on this Rockets team, they would have the exact same expectations, if not better.
Yes, because I don't think the gap between Mitchell and KD is that grand as players, but I think Kevin Durant's a better player. Kevin Durant is just as good of a scorer. Kevin Durant is a better defender.
Sure. What I'm going to do right now is not give in to anything you just said.
And if we're talking about down seasons and points per game wise, Donovan Mitchell averaged like 22 or 23. KD was at 27 this past year.
Led to a lot. No, I did not look at the NBA standings, Joel. What I did look at is the best player on a team and what success has come from it. And what I notice over and over and over again, it's never Kevin Durant's fault, ever. Okay, it's not because he's not vocal in the locker room. It's not because he's not a leader at all of men. And it's not because of anything else that has happened. Kevin Durant is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest scorers to ever walk this earth. And I think he is a top 15 player of all time. But as far as right now, 2025, I would much rather have Donovan Mitchell if I'm a Rockets fan than Kevin Durant.
Yes, because he's younger. That's
okay.
Obvious.
Not even that. I'm talking about in a vacuum this season. I would rather have Donovan Mitchell than Kevin Durant. I would rather have Donovan Mitchell than Kevin Durant.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Who was your number 6 and 7?
So this is what I changed.
No. Let me ask you. No. Keep it the same. Keep it consistent.
No. I did not change. Donovan Mitchell is still ahead of Kevin Durant, but this is what I have. Kevin Durant at 10, Donovan Mitchell at 9. Actually, Kevin Durant at 10, LeBron James at 9, Donovan Mitchell at 8, Jason Tatum at 7. No, Jalen Brunson at 7, and then Jason Tatum.
But before, was it Mitchell over Jalen Brunson?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I'm glad that you changed it. Because I
wouldn't give it into the Durant thing. I still feel the same way. Donovan Mitchell, Kevin Durant, I'm taking D-Mitch. But, after looking at it, giving it some thought, it's how I feel.
Okay. My top 5 is easy. It's Tatum, it's Luka, it's Giannis, it's Shea, it's Jokic.
Top 5 is easier. It's Steph Curry at 5. It's Luka Doncic at 4. It's Giannis at 3. It's Shea at 2. And it's Nikola Jokic at 1.
They're the top 5 players in the world.
They are the top 5 players in the world. The All-Star news broke over the weekend. It's another weird format. I just wish, and I just want to be on record saying this, I just wish it would be a normal game. Adam Silver has mucked this up so much, and he has spoken, quite frankly, more about the All-Star game than one of the biggest financial scandals in NBA history. And that's what's frustrating. We started the show with that, and I think we're going to end the show with it too. It's everything else is on Adam Silver's mind except the fairness of the game. And not only that, but what matters to fans, which highlights Joel's point that was, documented so well about his comments about how a regular NBA fan can be expected to watch this game.
Man, it's a lot. Well, how do you feel about it?
How do I feel about the All-Star? Yeah, it's whatever. I think I'm always going to be one of those guys who just watch the bullshit they put together, but they have completely lost the average sports fan. And the NFL has too, but it doesn't matter for the NFL. They have the Super Bowl, they have the regular season, they have all of that. It matters so much more because it's one of the pinnacle events that's after football season.
Yeah, no, I think it's hard to get people invested into it when you have such a big event before it.
Yeah, 100%. But that's all I have today. Wouldn't be surprised if something else broke about Kawhi Leonard next week. Y'all be sure to tune in every Friday for the episodes. Joel, really appreciate you taking time today.
Thank you for having me on.